guest tonight, Dipo Adesina. He's been in the business for 12 months. And we hear a lot of people, you know, they come in and I probably one of the biggest complaints that I hear from people is I don't know where to find the training. I hear my upline isn't taking my calls. I hear I don't have anyone to hold my hand. I hear every complaint from under the sun, but here's a guy who's been in the business less than 12 months and just figured it out himself. And he said he was at very low comp at the place he came from, and the training wasn't everything that he needed, but he's someone that was determined because he found out and understood how powerful this business was. He said, I'm going to figure things out and I'm going to make it happen. He came into a company and he did things completely different than the rest of us do. You know, we all buy either final expense leads or we buy mortgage leads, and we dial those leads and go to work. He came here, he tried it, didn't like it, but then he jumped on social media, started doing videos, and from there started generating his own leads. And I think it's something that anyone can learn how to do, but most people probably won't do it because it is a lot of hard work. I was paying a guy to do it, and it was like too much for me. And I paid him $550, and I recorded one video. So it's definitely hard work. It's actually harder to record those videos than it is just to buy leads. So I'd rather just buy leads and call them because that's kind of what works and what I'm used to. But there's so many different ways that you can make money in this business. And I love what he's doing. I think his mindset is probably one of the most powerful things that he has. And when he talks about what he's doing and the things he wants to accomplish, it's you can see why he just hit Hall of Fame at 430. I mean, he's projected to do over 600,000 IP for the year. So I'm excited for him to come on and train tonight. I'm excited to watch what he's going to do for the rest of this year. I just saw some recent videos and so forth that he started posting on social media, and you can tell now that he's definitely out there ready to build a team and grow this thing. So I'm excited for you, Dipo. You hear, man?
Yep, I am. Thanks a lot, Mike. Can you hear me?
I certainly can, man. It's all you, buddy. Anything that you want to share with the group? We got a lot of new people on here, so if you can just kind of introduce yourself and give a little bit of background before you do your training tonight, because we do have a lot of new people in the group, man. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, definitely want to thank you guys, you and the team, for giving me the opportunity to speak. I don't take it lightly, you know what I mean? Like, just watching other great people. I mean, I'm seeing people hitting $60,000, $70,000 a week. I'm like, man, that's huge, right? So it's definitely a privilege to speak to everybody this evening. So a quick background of who I am, where I came from. Like Mike said, up until about a year or a year and a half ago, I was with another organization who I thought was the best in the industry, right? Because we were made to think that. And with 5 months being involved with the company, I mean, I think I probably made less than $3,000, right? Because I really couldn't fit into their system. And here's what you got to think about. To me, at the time, my goal was to make $5,000, right? And I figured if I could do $5,000 in total, I don't care how long it took, I can now convince people to believe that the insurance industry actually works and you can make money, right? So along the way, I did a video. So Mike talked about how I leverage social media to kind of grow and scale the business. And I think it was 22nd when I did a video, just like I would any other time. And I posted the video on TikTok. And I went to sleep that night and woke up the following morning with 44,000 views. Now, you got to keep in mind that that has never happened to me before, right? It wasn't nothing special about the video. The only question I asked was, why is it mandatory for people to have health insurance, homeowners insurance, car insurance, but not life insurance? And the video took off. So talking about how I transitioned to Family First Life, a good buddy of mine who happened to introduce me to Family First Life, Kamal, saw the video, and he basically asked us, hey, Dipo, I got this, I need you to take a look at this, right? He was talking about Family First Life. And like I said, up until that point, I didn't really feel or think there was any other company out there beating the one I was currently with. And he simply said, like, for me, I'm a businessman, the numbers guy. I follow the money all day. And all he said to me that day was, I can give you, or I can put you at a 100% comp plan. Now, you got to think about where I'm coming from, right? Where I'm coming from, they start you off at 25%. You got to work your tail off to get to 35%. So I got to 35% in like 4 months, and I'm excited. I'm going hard. And then here it is, somebody comes along the way and tells me, hey, I can put you at 100%. Well, needless to say, that was my last day with the other company, right? Because it's a business move, right? It just makes absolute sense. And I'm assuming everybody in here would agree with me. And when I came on board Family First Life, I saw what everybody was doing, final expense, mortgage protection. And I remember trying to fit in, because this is the new company. This is what everybody was doing. And I remember purchasing leads for like $60. And for me, that was a lot of money because I've never paid for leads. You know what I mean? And I bought the leads and I started I think I had like 15 people. Okay. Called like 5 or 6 of them. Didn't get any calls. One of them was like 90 years old. The wife was like, he didn't ask for no life insurance. Stop calling me. I said, man, this ain't for me. Right. And that was the last time I actually went that route. Not to say it didn't work, but it was just not for me personally. Right. Because where I was coming from, all we did was index universal life. So I basically channeled all my energy into that product. And that's how I pretty much was able to gain the success that I have today, right? So like I said, the key thing is really, from my understanding, is that regardless of what product you decide to sell, you decide to market out there, whether it's final expense, mortgage protection, infinite banking, whole life, or index universal life, you pick the product and you run with it. I was just fortunate enough to come from a background where all they talked about was index universal life. And for me, it made absolute sense to kind of follow that channel and, as a result, creating the result that I have today. Now, one of the biggest things that I personally have realized in the industry as a whole is that 92% of people come into this industry wanting to make money. All right. And we're talking about 2 different worlds here, right? We're talking about people who have an employee mindset coming into a world where it requires a business mindset. So when you come from an employee mindset where you're constantly you've been told what to do for the last 10, 20, 30 years, and now you're coming into a new industry where you really got to have that, that self-reliance, right? To actually push through. It becomes a hurdle for a lot of people because nobody's really there to constantly hold your hands. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen that most people are making when they come on board as a life insurance agent, because they still have an employee mindset versus an entrepreneur or a business mindset. And those 2 are completely different. So one of the things that is helping me today is mainly because I've been an entrepreneur since I was in my early teens or mid-teens. I've always done one business or another, developed a lot of skills over time. So I understood the importance of making things happen without somebody holding my hands, right? So if you're new today or you've been in for a couple of months and you're thinking to yourself, well, it's not working, or why isn't anybody holding my hands? It's not necessarily because they don't want to, but you have to have the zeal or the willingness to actually want to do it. And one of the things that I told my upline, come on, at the time, was that, hey, listen, I don't need you to teach me nothing. I don't need you to hold my hands. Just show me the product. What's the compensation plan, and how do I run illustrations? Right? Everything else after that, I was calling the company directly to actually learn about the different products that that they were offering. And that's how I was able to develop my knowledge base, my skill set, to become an expert in index universal life. Okay. So the first thing is that you must be self-reliant to a certain degree, even though there are other systems out there to help you. Now, the second biggest thing, which I will spend a lot of more time on, is the mindset. All right. As much people want to make a lot of money in this business, their mindset is still holding them back to actually scale to that next level. All right. For example, I talked about how when I first came on board to Family First Life, I really didn't have any specific goals. All right. I was still on the 5,000 threshold. That was my mindset. right? And you got to look at those two words, mindset, which means that your mind is set at a level of thinking. Now, what actually changed my mindset was a podcast that I had watched on YouTube. Now, up until that point, I believe, people were freely telling people or saying on social media how much money they earned, and I earned this in 30 days, blah, blah, blah. And I remember watching the podcast that afternoon, and it was a young man, and he said on that podcast that he earned $40,000 in 30 days. I mean, now we say 40 families. And instantly, when I say instantly, I mean immediately, my mindset changed from $5,000 to $40,000. See, you can never earn more money beyond your thinking capacity. If your mind is capped at $2,000, regardless of how hard you try, how much effort you put in, once you hit that $2,000, you may sometimes break through, but you always come back to that mindset because that's your thinking capacity, right? So you got to look at the mindset like a thermostat. Right now, I think my thermostat is set to like 70 degrees, right? Now, once I set it to 70 degrees, it doesn't matter how hard I work. It doesn't matter how much I pray. It doesn't matter anything else I do. Once it hits 70, it will never exceed that 70 degrees. So the reason why a lot of people are struggling in their business is not because they don't have the ability to earn more money, is because their mindset is stuck at a certain dollar figure. They have some self-limiting beliefs that's keeping them at that dollar amount, so they're not able to now scale to the next level. So kind of going back to my story, when I saw that video on YouTube, gentleman did $40,000, and I changed my mindset. The very following month, remember, for 5 months, I wanted to make $5,000, but the moment I changed my mindset, the following month, I did $17,000. The month after that, I did $30,000. The month after that, I did $40,000, and I continued to scale up until I hit a peak of, I think, about $80,000 and some change, right? So the reason why that was possible is because I had a shift in my thinking. Now, here's what's important, and I want you all to get this. I don't know how it works, and I can't explain it. But for some reason, when you change your thermostat, your mindset to a different figure, a different dollar amount, you begin to attract the people, the event, the circumstances, the ideas to make that a reality, right? So for me, once again, I never thought it was possible to even make $10,000 a month in this business, let alone $40,000 a month. So the question I guess I want to pose to everybody listening today is ask yourself, what is my mindset? How much? Well, let me rephrase that. Whatever you're earning right now, whether in your job, whether in your business, that is where your mindset is at. So if you've been constantly earning $10,000 every month, that means your mindset is at 10,000. If you've been earning 20, 30,000, your mindset is at 20, 30,000, right? And I realized that the same thing holds true for me. There was a point in time where I could never break through $40,000. I mean, a couple of months back to back, it was all 40,000. Right? Until I discovered that, hey, listen, what if I change my thinking? What if I change my mindset to 50,000? What would happen? And the moment I did that, boom, I scaled through. Right? Now, the question now is, how do you change your mindset? All right. The first thing is that you got to change what you're putting into your mind. And one of the things that has helped me over time is understanding the power of words. So for me, I'm not the guy who will train you how to, get more leads and do all this other good stuff, because there are other agents who are expert at that. But when it comes to mindset, I've been doing this thing for almost 2 decades now. So this is my forte. If you're going to change your output, you first got to change your input, what you're putting inside. And one of the things that has helped me over time is to understand how powerful words are. And I think I said this the last time I was invited on board to speak last year on how I use words to really shape my reality. And one of the things that I do every day is that I have affirmations that I say every single day. Once again, I don't really understand how these things work, but I understand that there are principles that actually work. And when I got to the 40,000 mark, I was actually affirming that every single day, that today or this month, I'm earning $40,000 in my life insurance business. And I kept on saying that at least 30 to 40 times every day, because there's power in your subconscious mind. There's a book that I have here. I don't know if you guys can see this. It says The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, How It Works and How to Use It. This is by Harry Carpenter. All right. Your subconscious mind understands how to attract people and opportunities to you, right? When I first started affirming these things, I never knew that social media was going to be the path to actually create the door to help me scale my business. But the moment I started affirming, the idea came to just start creating educational content, right? So when you understand the power of words and you start using it to your advantage, you begin to shape your reality. And when you shape your reality, the outcome will also change with that. All right. Does that make sense? Let me see if there are any comments or any questions here so far. Right. Perfect. Now the other thing that I strongly believe that has helped me thus far is that I spend time feeding my mind with positive information. I read a lot of books. Now, one of the things that I've discovered is that a lot of people want to make money, but they've not yet developed themselves to the type of money they want to earn. For example, somebody may say, I want to earn $20,000 a month. I want to earn $50,000 a month. Well, the question is, are you currently able to handle that type of money if you were to get it? A couple of months ago, I had a gentleman. I'm not sure if he's with FFL Nationals, but I know he's part of FFL. He reached out to me on Instagram and he said he needed some help scaling his business. And I said, okay, like what's going on? The first thing he said was that he got a commission, $14,000 commission on an annuity that he submitted, and he blew through $14,000. And I'm thinking to myself, bro, how did you manage to blow? We're not even talking about spending the money on leads. He blew $14,000 just like that as an agent. And now he has chargebacks that's not, that he has to now pay back for other things. And then team is scattering in everything. So, and I'm thinking to myself, there's really nothing I can do for this gentleman, not because I don't want to help him, but he has a certain level of thinking and his financial literacy is pretty low, right? Meaning that even if he worked to able to get $50,000, $100,000 a month, he's not yet at a place where he's able to handle that type of money. So in order for you to earn more as a life insurance agent, you also have to be willing to actually learn more. So as much as we focus on, buying more leads, spending more money on leads, you got to ask yourself, what is my sales skills like, right? Do I have the right people skills? Am I a good communicator? See, all these are different dots that actually goes into becoming a great life insurance agent, right? So when you see somebody who's struggling in their business and they're spending, thousands of dollars on leads, but it's not really yielding results, the question got to go back to, are you developing yourself as a person? Because if you can spend $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 on leads every month, and you can't afford to spend $500, $1,000 to develop yourself as a person, maybe attend a training, a webinar, or something to help you develop your skill set, then the chances are you'll probably be limited to where you are. when I look at everybody that's kind of doing big things in Family First Life, there's one common denominator. They have certain skill set that majority of people don't have, right? And the majority constitute of 92% of the people in the insurance industry who quit within their first 3 years. 8% succeed, and the difference is clear. And for me, when I got on board, I looked at the gentleman who was doing $40,000 a month, and I said, well, whatever he's doing must be working, right? So while he was buying leads and doing his thing, like Mike said, I don't really buy leads. My lead is to actually create content to educate people. So he was putting in work in one hand, and I was putting work in the other hand, generating leads on social media, right? So going back to a few things, just a quick recap. If you want to scale your business, number one, you have to change your mindset. If you're currently earning $10,000, change it to $20,000. Number two, create affirmations to use every single day. Like I said, I don't know how it works, but I know for the last 12 to 15 months, it has been working for me. And number three, you have to basically increase your learning capacity, because the more you learn, the more you earn in this industry. All right. Let me check to see if there are any all right, somebody said you save 50% of all your commission, keep the rest. Awesome. Any questions, any specific questions for me that you all want me to answer? Okay, I don't see any questions so far. Mike, you got any questions for me? Anything that's coming to mind? Do you think like new agents might want to know?
Yeah, one thing, Dipo, and you started building a team. What do you think with what you've seen with the people that you're bringing in? I mean, you see what you do, and even you have people come in and they fall off. What do you think is the biggest reason that people don't stick around? Because your training's phenomenal, obviously, but what do you think? Why can't you show people to do exactly what you do? What do you think is missing there?
Everybody's trying to get rich fast, right? Everybody's trying to make fast money, and nobody's really trying to put in the work, right? So, and that is a great question, right? Because somebody would see like what I do. Oh, you're generating leads. This is happening, but they don't understand that if I got to that point, I've been doing certain things consistently for the past 7 years, right? So that consistency has compounded. So in IUL, we talk about compound interest. Well,
Yeah.
my skill set has been compounding for the last 7 years. Then when FFL presented itself, it just allowed me to scale to the next level, right? And that's why I said, if you're coming on board, you got to dedicate at least 1 year of going hard at this business, irrespective of what happens in your first couple of months, right? When I first got on board, literally my first 4 months, I did not make a dime in this business, right? Not with Family First Life, with my other agency. I did not make a dime selling any policy to anybody in my first 4 months. But guess what? I knew the product worked. I knew the system worked, but there were certain things that I didn't quite understand. So I couldn't see the result that I wanted to see. So if you're just getting on board and you're struggling or whatever the case may be, you gotta be patient to learn the business, right? Because for the truth of the matter is, you're probably coming from a place where from an employee mindset. So if you're coming on board as an agent, it requires a completely different mindset to actually succeed as an agent, right? And another thing is, don't get discouraged when you see other people putting up big numbers, right? It should be a motivator for you. Like when I saw the gentleman who did 40,000, like for me, I was like, if he can do it, like, I mean, he definitely don't look better than me for sure. And if he can do it, like, I can certainly do it. You know what I mean? And that was like my biggest motivator. Like, wait, somebody did 40 grand in 1 month. And that was all it took for me. So he was a motivator versus, man, he did 40,000, man. How come everybody's making all this money and I'm not doing it? Right? Having a pity party, right? If you're watching that, you've been having pity parties, everybody's successful, not, it's not working for me. That's the reason why it's not working for you. right? The power of your subconscious mind. There is something inside of you telling you that this thing is not working for me. But when you begin to change your language, when you begin to change the information you're putting into your mind, you begin to see a different world out there, right? Because you attract what you think about, and you attract the people who are just like you, right? So if you're lazy, the chances are you probably will attract lazy people. If you're hardworking, the chances are you will attract people who have great work ethics. Not all the time, but for the most part, right? So does that answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. We got some good questions here. Shakisha asked a question about, you mentioned FFL on social media, or you just talk about the product? I've seen your social media, and you don't talk about FFL, which you don't need to. You talk about educational content and the power of life insurance. Is that right?
So yeah, that's absolutely correct. So I do that intentionally, right? Because personally, for me, like, I'm a brand. Like, I build a brand. Dipo Adesina is my brand. So I don't, and I do so many other things, so I can't go online, oh, join family. So for example, right? If I was promoting the other organization that I was with, all my page would have been filled with the content.
Yeah.
Right. But because I promote me and what I do, I don't need to talk about Family First Life. I don't need to talk about, any type of insurance company, right? I only educate people on the product. Now, when you talk to me, that's when you learn about, either if you want to become an agent, like, that's when you learn about Family First Life. When you want a policy, that's when you learn about the carrier that we're using, right? And I think the reason why a lot of people, are not really thriving on social media is because everything they put out there, family first life, family first life. Oh, it just, from a branding standpoint, it just doesn't work, at least from my experience.
I agree with you. Plus, you get yourself into hot water when you start, everyone starts talking about, the company as a whole. And we saw what happened before with the FTC and all that stuff. So it makes sense with the way that you're doing it. Boomy, let me see, people by you. Does anyone else have any other questions for Dipo tonight? Dipo, what would you say to the agent that says that they're failing because of training, or they're failing because of their upline? What would you say to that agent?
Well, first and foremost, I think, FFL National has tremendous amount of trainings. I mean, I think we have too many trainings. So if you're not if you're not doing well because of trainings, because you're not plugging in to the trainings consistently. And as far as the upline, like I said, and here's the biggest thing for me. You got to understand that your upline is equally in business just like you are, right? They're not your employer, they're not your supervisor, they're not your manager, they're not your CEO. They are a business entity by themselves, right? They're only there to provide support for you, provided that you're showing initiative and that you're serious about your business, right? For example, when I first joined Family First Life, nobody knew who I was. In fact, I didn't want anybody to know who I was. My biggest concern was, if I write a policy, you guys are going to deposit my money in my bank account. That was the only thing that mattered, right? But as time went on, I began to know Mike, I began to know Frank, Jamie, and all these great people on the team, right? Because I showed that I was actually serious about my business. So if you want your upline to provide extra support, then you gotta show some type of initiative that you're serious about your business. And I'm not talking about, hey, what percentage is what's the interest rate on the IUL for FNG, or all these basic things. You got to take initiative by calling the company, doing your own research, right? That's what I mean by that. So whatever you can't find the answer for, then you go to your upline, and then they'll be glad to help you. At least that's what's worked for me so far. Somebody said, what are your affirmations read daily? So there are three basic, simple ones. Right? My daily affirmation is, I am now earning $60,000 every month in my life insurance business. I say that 10 times in the morning when I wake up, in the afternoon, and I say 10 times before I go to sleep, right? The reason why it works is because when you're sleeping, your mind is actually working. So I might just get up one day and I think about an idea to create a video. So I'm teaching you how this thing work, right? a random idea comes to my mind, like, yo, create this kind of video and see what happens. I create the video generates leads, and the leads turn into business, right? So don't worry about how it's going to happen for you. Just stick to the principle, right? The second one is I am a money magnet, and money comes to me easily, effortlessly, without stress or labor. Like I say that like it's in me. Like that's part of my subconscious mind. And interestingly, outside of the business, I think of creative ways to make extra money, like all within a life insurance space, right? So, and I think what's the third one? Um, Man, I can't remember the third one, right? So those are my two primary ones. So you don't need a whole lot. Stick to a few and repeat them over and over again. And what happens is that when you change your words and you say it over and over again, eventually you start to believe what you're saying. And once you start to believe, your actions start to match up with your words, and boom, you start to see the results over time.
Casey has a question. Do you have tips on selling IULs?
Well, tips is it regarding like leveraging social media, or like what do you mean by like what kind of tips are you referring to?
I think the biggest tip is learn the product. To me, that's what I would
Yeah,
say.
like pick one carrier and learn how to run different types of illustrations with their product. So I started with Mutual of Omaha, kind of learn how to do, their IULs back and front. And then I transitioned to FNG. I kind of mastered that system. Then National Life Group. So those are my three primary carriers that I use, but you don't have to start with all three. Pick just one, and then master it, right? And you learn how to run different illustrations for clients. So that when you actually get on a call, you sound intelligent when you're discussing, how the products can meet their need. Do
Do you
you
ask for a
ask
lot of
us?
referrals?
I do not, and that's probably the biggest thing. And I think if I did, my business would
Oh
probably
my
go through
gosh.
the roof. Yeah, I do not, and I need to start that though. I need to start that.
You
But
don't,
sometimes I do get referrals, or like somebody might just call me, hey, somebody told me about you, and stuff like that. But I don't ask on the call for referrals.
Dipo, what's the biggest piece of advice you could give that new agent right now that is kind of struggling to find their way? What would you suggest they start doing today to change, their future going forward?
Um, I think I would say, change your belief system. And I cannot overemphasize that, because you are where you are today because of what you believed over time, right? And your beliefs have become a habit. So if you believe that you're broke, and if you believe that nothing ever works for you, if you believe that, oh, anything I try never works, then regardless of what business it is, you'll probably always fail. So when you begin to change your belief system, I'm telling you right now, and that was the paradigm shift for me, right? The moment I believe that I can actually do this thing, everything just went through the roof, right? So now I went from, imagine, right? Thinking about earning $5,000 in 3 to 5 months, to now my mindset is doing $1 million in a year. And that's my actual belief system now. And so a couple of books, this is a pretty old book, but pretty good, by Brian Tracy. Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life. And then of course you've seen The Power of Subconscious Mind, and then The Power of Positive Thinking, right?
Norman Vincent
This is
Peale.
by Norman Vincent Peale. So yeah, if you got anything, if you didn't get anything else outside of today's meeting, just understand that everything boils down to mindset, right? Until you change your mindset, you continue to produce the same results that you've been producing. I think last question here: do you write IULE, or do you do illustrations all the time? How do you really understand creating illustration? So I do IULE, but not the way most people do it. I think what's the one that people typically run, right, with
They
IULE?
run they run Easy Solve, but I know what you do. You go
Yeah,
in and you max fund it.
yeah, I actually build it, so I don't do easy solve, because that's not the real deal. Um, and then the last book was The Power of Positive Thinking. All right. Okay. All right. Any final questions?
Frank, anything to close us out, man?
I mean, no, he hit it so good, and the sad part is I'm not even going to go that route. My hope and prayer for everybody on this call is that they just believe what he's saying, because he could teach you the greatest IUL presentation in the world. He could teach you how to generate leads, but without the right mindset, none of it's going to matter. Because I don't know how many people, like, ask yourself on this call if you'd still be in the business if you didn't get paid for 4 months. And that'll tell you everything you need to know. Like, I'm helping my daughter build a salon next door to our office, and Mike was in the office. She's crying because she's saying, I'm broke. And I'm like, sweetheart, you got 10 grand in the bank. You don't, and she's 20, by the way. Like, you don't know what broke is. She's like, well, I don't want to be broke. I'm like, I didn't want to be broke either. But when I put my mind to starting this business, it was nothing that was going to deter me or Jamie and I from stopping. Being broke was one of them. Like, we were broke for a lot of months because of the lawsuit, because of us not having carriers, didn't have leads. Like, there's a lot of factors that went into that, but a lot of it also was mindset, as far as, like, we weren't doing everything we needed to do. But it's impressive to me, Dipo. Every time you train, it gets better and better with what you speak about, and the truth that you lay down, because there's not many people, I don't think, on this call that aren't where they want to be, that answer, yes, I'd be here if I didn't make any money in 4 months, because that's where the rubber meets the road. When it gets tough, what are you going to do? Are you going to crawl up in the corner like a little baby back pussy and pee on yourself, or are you going to just keep moving? And I love this topic, because you could talk for hours on it. What's the toughest thing I'll ask one last question, Mike, and you can wrap it up. The toughest thing you've been through in this business, and how do you keep the noise out from the people that aren't built your way, that have the entrepreneurial spirit and mindset, that try to talk you out of doing the things that you need to do to become a successful business owner?
Yeah, I think for me, most challenging part was really trying to help people to actually build their business. So I think a couple of months ago, I really had a pretty decent team. We're talking about 40 plus people. And, I created trainings, created systems, and, even created a way to generate leads, things that I charge other people for. I made it free to my team. Right. And today, out of the 40 plus people, only about 2 or 3 are actually doing something. You know what I mean? And to me, it's like, look, and that's one of the reasons why I initially stopped building, because it actually impacted my production, because I started channeling that energy to building, and these people are not really putting in the effort, to what I'm doing for them. So I think that's the biggest thing right there, where you're trying to help people genuinely. And once again, because of the mindset that they have, it's a lot difficult to kind of break through that. Right? I can give you all the trainings, for free. I can help you build systems. But if you have a poverty mindset, I can't just help you with that. That's a personal problem. You know what I mean? And that's why I focus so much on, breaking that mindset that's keeping people, in financial bondage, or, hindering you from moving to the next level. So now I'm actually, like, you got to go through a series of interview questions before you actually join my team now, because ain't no room for no lazy folks on my team anymore, man.
Dipo, I bet a large number of the people that were here and then left, they probably went back and got jobs. And that kind of shows you right there what kind of mindset they have. They're not entrepreneurs. They left an entrepreneurial business and then went to get a job, and that's who they are. And that's okay, but they're just not, built for this, and they're not a true entrepreneur.
Yeah,
we were taught this early on, Dipo. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person, and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person.
That's correct.
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? And that's never holding true, more so than in this industry. So you will wind up with a massive organization, I have no doubt, just because you refuse to quit and lose. But yeah, anything we can do to help, we're all in, because I think you could build a huge team.
Appreciate that, man.
No reason why you can't. Well, I appreciate you being on tonight, Dipo. Thank you, as always. Next week, guys, we do this every Monday at 6 o'clock. Please plug into all the trainings that are available. Like Dipo said, we have. And more importantly, pick up some books that he had talked about and change the way you think, and you'll see how quickly your business changes. So I appreciate everyone being on tonight. Thank you.